What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 108 of the Ridge Hunter Outdoors podcast. We had Richard Wood on this week. That's Dusty's dad. You guys know him from the show and from Fall Pursuit on YouTube. But we got to talk about not only the 200-plus inch giant that he killed earlier this year, but we also kind of took a trip down memory lane of archery hunting in general. We went all the way back to the 60s and 70s and kind of worked our way up. Richard's journey throughout, his hunting career, and also took a look at just kind of the industry and bow hunting in general. So it was a really interesting episode. I think you guys will enjoy it. But before we get into it, don't forget about our partners for the podcast, one of those being Rodney Hawkins. If you guys are looking for your own piece of ground to manage and hunt, maybe try to grow your own 200-inch deer, Rodney is the guy to talk to. He grew up hunting and fishing in Southern Illinois, and he's now putting that love for the outdoors into selling recreational properties as a land specialist with Midwest Farm and Land. Now, Midwest Farm and Land isn't your average real estate company. While they do residential stuff as well, they sold over $85 million worth of ground in 2022 alone, and I know they're going to hit close to that number again this year. With agents like Rodney all over Illinois, they're really a local company with a national reach. For more information, you can contact Rodney directly at 618-925-3153, and he'll get you taken care of. He's also got his own company called RHO Outdoors. They've currently got Radix blinds. They've got all kinds of products from them. They have an all-natural scent elimination product called Camo Dust. They've got Tacticam trail cameras, and he's adding stuff all the time as well. So if you want to keep up with them, what they got going on, what they have, what maybe he's going to add coming up, go to their Facebook page, RG Outdoors. Email them at rgoutdoors@yahoo.com, or again, just call Rodney directly at 618-925-3153. Our other partner for the show is Grandpa Ray Outdoors. They've been with us almost since the beginning, so if you guys have been listening, you know about them. But if not, you should look them up, and I'll tell you a little bit about them right now. They specialize in providing the best nutrition for whitetail deer on your property, starting with the soil. So if you do food plots, if you do any kind of management for wildlife on your property, obviously you need to have food as part of that management plan, and you're going to want to try Grandpa Ray's seed. They've got a full line of high-quality food plot seeds and plant foods. They've got over 14 different blends to choose from, so whether you're wanting to do spring blends, fall blends, whether you want to do some grains on your property, they've even got switchgrass if you're trying to do some screening or cover. They have some bedding blends. They've got liquid fertilizer for that stuff as well, soil test kits so you know how much fertilizer you need. You name it when it comes to that kind of stuff, they've got it. They're not just about selling their products, though. Well, they were started in 2015. John's been in the business up there since 1991. He runs the place. So he's going to answer any questions you have about what blends would be best for your specific property. That way you can achieve the best results possible. And that means he's not going to recommend the same thing for somebody with, a type of soil in northern Michigan that he would maybe in southern Georgia. So he's going to take each situation individually and recommend what would best work for you. They're not about a fancy label or package either. They're about good quality seed and taking care of their clients, as you can see. We've used their blends. I don't know how many thousands of pounds of seed that we've used from them, but we use it on client properties. We do food plots and stuff for people. We've also used it on our own properties, of course, and the results have always been as good as advertised. Even this year, on a dry year, I know like Nate had some great-looking food plots that he killed some deer in. Blake killed his high-rise buck in a Grandpa Ray Outdoors food plot. Even the ones that I planted that got almost no rain at all, the deer have still been hammering what's there. So they really love it. It's worth a shot. Any of their blends that we've used have always been great. If you want to check them out, go to grandparrayoutdoors.com. Use the discount code RHO Podcast. That's all lowercase, no space, and you get 5% off your order. We're also a dealer for them as well. So if you want to save some money on shipping, come in, order from us. You can either send me a message to order that stuff, and I'll get you taken care of. We're getting close to frost seeding season. So if you got clover, they have that as well. Of course, we have our own blend of clover and chicory, too. That's on our website, Ridgehunteroutdoors.com. You can check that out there when it becomes available again. I'll try to get some in here probably within the next month and a half or so, just in time for that frost seeding season. We also have apparel on the website. I'm hoping we're going to come out with some new stuff soon. I will let you guys know. We'll probably do a discount code to get that going. But if you find anything on our website that you do like, you do want to try, use the discount code RHOPOD. That's all caps, no space, and you get 10% off of everything in your first order. We're also on social media at Ridge Hunter Outdoors. Facebook and Instagram are the two that we really use. And then, of course, we're on YouTube as well, Ridge Hunter Outdoors there. That's where you can find the Fall Pursuit show. I haven't had an episode in a couple weeks now. We just haven't had the content to put up. So hopefully next week we'll have another episode. We'll see how it goes. Getting into the late season, it can be tough. And, you burn up a lot of free time during the rut, so it's hard to get out there as much during the late season. So I'm going to try to do some of that this week, though. Maybe we'll have something for you. Anyway, you can go check out all the other 9 episodes on our YouTube channel. We also have some videos from the summertime. We try to do some helpful videos as well as far as management stuff goes. All kinds of stuff there on the YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe to that. We're almost at 3,000 subscribers. If we could hit that before the end of the year, that would be awesome. So if you guys haven't subscribed, go do that. The podcasts are all there as well. We do have a Facebook group. It's RHO Podcast Patrons. It's a private group for you guys that listen to the podcast. If you listen regularly and you're not a part of that, go join it. Post in there your hunting stuff. Just use it as a hunting group. You can also have some input on the show if you got somebody that you would like to hear come on. If you have any questions for us, if you have any questions for guests that we're having coming up, that if I announce it in time, you guys can ask them as well. So that's RHO Podcast Patrons is the group. If you're listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify or anywhere else that lets you, go ahead, hit follow, subscribe, and leave us a review. The reviews really help. The follows do as well. The reviews, if you guys leave us like 4 or 5 stars, whatever it is, and even if you type up a review, that really helps as well. So appreciate everybody who's done that, and appreciate you if you're going to do that as well, and just for tuning in general. So with all that out of the way, let's get into episode number 108 with Richard Wood. This is the Ridge Hunter Outdoors podcast. All right, so we got Richard Wood in here tonight, and Dad's back in. Oh, it's been a while since you've been on an episode.
It's been a while, yes.
But you guys used to hunt together quite a bit, so I wanted to make sure you guys were both on. At least
that's good.
Legend has it. I wanted to make sure he was on.
I don't know what all will tell you, but
it'll be the truth, whatever it is.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely.
Best as we can remember.
Yeah, so it'll be fun. Maybe going through some old times. But what we always do with our first-time guests, and obviously I've been talking about this a little bit on maybe the last 2 episodes, that got someone coming on that killed a 200-plus inch deer this year. And we'll get into that, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But what we always do with our first-time guests, and if you guys don't know, Richard's Dusty's dad. So Dusty's been on a couple times. He helps us with the Fall Pursuit show. We've had both your grandkids kill deer on there this year.
Yeah, they're tough.
Uh-huh. And then, like I said, for your first time on, we take you all the way back to getting started in hunting. Oh, yeah. I always ask everybody, who got you started hunting, and what did you start hunting on? Was it squirrels, rabbits, deer? We've had all kinds of stuff from squirrels to bears.
Well, actually, I started going with my dad's squirrel hunting, when I was probably 10 or so, and then actually started carrying a gun when I was 13, squirrel hunting.
Right. And
I graduated to rabbit hunting a few years later with a little 410. And, at that age when I first started hunting, we didn't have deer. I mean, I probably was 14 or 15 before I seen my first deer,
What time frame you talking here? Like, not to age you or anything, but...
Oh, hell, why not?
19. About the early 60s,
early
probably.
60s,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, early 60s, yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, going from squirrels to start deer hunting, and when we first started hunting them, I mean, if you blowed a chance, you think that was it. Right. That was your one chance you was going to get, and you blowed it, and a lot of times that's the way it was, know. And we done things like deer drives and stuff, which I guarantee you I'll never be doing that.
Right.
that's come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, that's how I started, really. I mean, my dad got me started, well, all of us boys really in a way, and except Duck, I think we all took turns on him.
Yeah.
So did Hadley ever rabbit hunt?
Well, he was basically a bird hunter, And I always wanted to try to go with me or something, you know, like that, because George and Gib and even Duck later on, they hunted with my dad bird hunting. And I was out there by myself with the beagles, which, you know, I didn't care. But, you know, I kept pouring him on it one day. I said, let's go rabbit hunting. Let's go rabbit hunting. Nah, I don't want to do that. And I said, I'll tell you what. I'll carry every rabbit you kill. So anyway, we went. He took me up on that deal, boy. You know,
I bet he did.
And I'll tell you what, it got whereabouts. You know, I asked him. I said, "Don't you ever miss?" You know,
Yeah.
He said, "Not with a deal like this."
Oh, yeah.
So you know, that was what happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that was, we're talking back in the 60s there. So
Yeah.
as you get up into a little bit later, when did you really start hunting deer pretty regular? And when did you start bow hunting? Because that wasn't a real big thing back then either, right?
I tell you, I really started bow hunting after I got home from the service. And that was probably, let's see, I got home in 74. So right after that. And, of course, if you want to find out at that time, you know, anybody that really knew anything about bows or any stuff like that, that was Larry Stutz, you know. And so I got buddying with him a little bit, and we deer hunted some. And there's some stories there, too. But, I mean, that's how it really started. I wished I still had it, but when the first compound bow come out, it was Allen, I believe, that made it.
Sounds
like
right.
that. And I bought one, and it was all metal.
Yeah.
It must have weighed 20 pounds or something, you know.
Right.
And so along the years, it got away from me or whatever. But, boy, I sure wished I had that back, you know. But I think that was probably 70, almost 80 before they come out, I think.
Probably they weren't all that.
They weren't probably.
They weren't all that old when
No.
we opened our shop in '89. I mean, less than 10 years probably.
Yeah.
For those of you that don't know, Larry Stutz is a local guy, and he actually has a patent on one of the first overdraws that were
Yes.
made.
Yep.
I don't know if he ever collects any money on it now, but at that time he still did.
Yeah, he did it one time. He done pretty good on it,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
But it's been a couple years ago or something like that. We was talking about it, and I think it's played out.
I'm sure it has
Yeah.
because they've played
But
the patent
I tell you
around
what,
now.
he had some pretty good ideas.
He did.
He did.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, well, you're talking about the ground floor on compound archery at that time.
Oh yeah.
Oh, most definitely. Yep.
Yeah.
And even locally, I was talking about it with the guy the other day, just going back and thinking about the guys that got started on bow hunting. There weren't that many guys bow hunting around here at the time.
No, you didn't have the problem, you know. You could pretty well just go anywhere.
Right.
You know. And they'd sort of look at you, you know. You think he's going to kill a deer, you know.
Right.
And
Well, that thing.
you know, yeah. And
Well,
you
it's
know,
like, you can hunt my stand, just not during shotgun season.
That's
Maybe
right, that's
knock
right.
yourself out during bow season.
that's
whatever.
right. You know, yeah. Just as long as you tell me where your stand's at.
Right. Right. Yep. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had some good times back then.
You remember your first deer with the bow? Or
Yep.
first deer at all?
Yeah.
Either one or both of them?
I ain't for sure about the shotgun, but the bow, yes, I still remember it.
Yeah.
It was west of Keens, north of the railroad tracks, a little patch of timber up there, and it was a 6-pointer. You know, boy, I thought, man, I had done something finally.
Oh, yeah.
And it wasn't my first or second year, maybe. I think I hunted a couple years or so.
I think the average back then was probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you actually hunted 4 or 5 years, the average before you killed a deer with a bow back then. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it was. I mean, you know, and as time went along, of course, we ended up with more deer or whatever. But it took I think most of us learned by mistake.
Right.
You know, it just wasn't like somebody that had knowledge going to take you under their arm. You know, because bow hunting that wasn't
Exactly. There wasn't that many people doing it.
Oh, Indians did that. You know?
Right.
They died out.
Yeah, that's right. They got smart.
Yeah.
So yeah, you know, it's just one of them things, you know.
Trial and error kind of deal.
In fact,
that point.
I had that mounted. I still got him.
Do you?
Yeah, it's a little 6-pointer.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Yeah, that's like today. I mean, get on your phone and find anything you want to find as far as information.
Yeah.
Good, bad, indifferent. You can find all of it.
You can find it. It's there.
Just like that. Well, you're talking, I mean, maybe you know a handful of other guys that are bow hunting and you say, hey, I did this and it didn't work. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know. I was doing the same thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like, you guys just kind of learning by, like you said, trial and fire and maybe a little bit of each other, but there wasn't even that much of each other at the time.
I have learned for me now that it has worked for me. And going with Scott here, you know, I like to hunt with somebody. I really do. I mean, it's if you go individually, you know, yeah, you've got the story, this and that, or whatever. You got it. It's individual. But when you're hunting with somebody else and you experience both theirs and yours,
Right.
you don't forget them.
Right.
We've got a couple.
One or two.
Two at least.
Yep. So
that we might talk about.
That's been a long time ago.
Yes, it is.
Well,
He was
we're
a little shaver too.
Yeah.
we're talking up in the 80s at this point when you really started bow hunting, I guess. Early 80s probably?
Yes.
When you really started getting into it, bow hunting?
Yeah. Yeah.
So at what time when did you really see it start to gain popularity? Do you remember?
I think it maybe two things sort of went together. Number one was, you know, our deer herd was getting up and people was seeing more deer. And then the archery tournaments was coming on, the 3Ds.
Right.
And I think people that were shooting 3Ds, you know, by the time when we stopped, deer season was coming in, and they just went from that right into that.
Yeah.
And I think that helped both ways, you know. I think they both.
Yeah.
I mean, the deer hunting and then the 3Ds. You know, you had some people that just 3D shoot. You know, but
Right.
there was a lot of them though that they were deer hunters too.
Right.
And that's just something. You know, they like to shoot their bow, and they just kept shooting all summer then, and it helped.
Yeah. And then just kind of rolled right into deer season.
Go
I
right
guess.
into deer season. You know.
Yep. So what time frame did you guys start hunting together a little bit?
It was in the mid '80s, wasn't it?
I want to think it was the late 80s, maybe. You were still carrying the mail. It was before I bought the deer shop.
I think actually we was 3D shooting.
Now, we were 3D shooting we opened the shop in 89. So I didn't shoot bow much before 89.
Yeah.
So it might have been late 80s, early 90s.
I thought maybe you was.
I really did.
I thought maybe we hunted a little bit together when I was with the sheriff's department. But no, that was later, wasn't it?
You were coming in the shop still when you were at the sheriff's department. I don't know. We hunted whenever you carried the mail because you'd take that month off.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then we got to later after about 2 weeks, it's like, is that dew or rain? Well, that's rain. We're going to take the day. we're going to stop this morning.
And I tell you what, I really, of course, anymore I hunt with a guy that you probably all go and know, and that's Aaron Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And anyway, it's sort of like when me and you were hunting, Scott. I mean, the two of us, you know, if we were going by ourselves, man, I think I'll just sleep in this morning.
Right.
But if somebody else is going, you know,
A little accountability.
I've gotta go. Yeah. So I mean that helps.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, it helps. I mean now Dusty, he's pretty well a loner, you know.
Right.
You know, I mean, yeah, his kids, you know, he got them started pretty good or whatever. But I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
But I'm just one that I sort of, you know, camaraderie or
Oh,
something.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was a good time.
Okay.
It was a
I
good
mean,
time.
with Scott, I've got stories. With Larry Stutz, I've got some stories.
Most of those you can't tell.
But we had a lot of laughs, and that's the name of the game for me.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We were
That's
talking. We were talking about that. The guys that I've been hunting with a little bit this year, we haven't really killed anything together, but man, we've had a lot of fun. I've had more fun sitting in a stand watching Nate miss a squirrel at 12 steps than I have killing a buck by myself. You know, it just. You're right. There's the camaraderie to it.
Yes,
makes it that much better.
It does for me. It really does. You know, I enjoy it. You know.
So where do we want to start? on that. Did you guys start hunting together? And did you guys start killing deer pretty early? I mean, were you guys killing many deer at the time?
Not too bad. Richard had most of the hunting spots, and I would go with him. And my God, we get there at a place I'd never been before, and we go in the mornings, and it's dark. It's always dark, right?
Oh, did we have climbers then?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had the oak steel climbers.
Yes, you had a climber.
Yeah, and you did too.
Yeah, both of us had climbers.
I forget what yours was. Mine was an old Summit. In fact, I still have that climber. Yours was a steel climber, but I can't remember what the name of it was. Both of them almost took up the back seat of that lunchbox that you called an Omni.
Yeah. yeah, about a 3-seater.
Yeah.
But I would go with him in a place I'd never been before, and I know this, and I can't think of where it was at exactly, but specifically, we got to the edge of this timber, and it's dark, and I've been there, never been there, and Richard's hunted with whoever he hunted with in the afternoon, and here's the directions I get, and I get this crap all the time. It's like, okay, you walk down here maybe 50 yards, and you'll run across the logging road, and then you take that logging road about 100 yards, and you turn left, and then at the bottom, there's a nice, good climbing tree. And that was the directions that I would get. It's like, okay.
I'm going to sit down until daylight.
Yeah, right.
And he done that in the Bose timber. No, not the Bose timber. The Molnax timber.
Yeah.
He did that to me.
Oh, yeah.
On a ridge.
You always found a tree, though.
I did. And the one I remember
Probably exactly the one you were telling him to go to.
No.
Actually, the very specific directions he just gave me was, I can't remember where we were at. I think it was on Pepple's ground.
Yes, low Pepple.
Yeah, and that was basically what he told me, and I was within 10 yards of a tree that he was telling me to get. And it was a pretty good climbing tree, but it wasn't exactly. When daylight came, I thought, hey, that tree over there is the one he wanted me to be in. So I took pretty good directions at the time.
That's right. He homed in pretty good.
I killed a deer out of that tree, by the way.
Yes, you did. Nice 8-pointer,
That's
wasn't
a
it?
big rascal. Actually the biggest body deer I ever shot to this day.
That's the one we sandwiched in the omelet, wasn't
Yes. Yeah.
If you got the will, there's a way.
Yeah.
That thing stunk all the way to that thing was in a rut, and my God, we piled that thing. I don't know how we got the stands and the deer, and holy crap. Back to the old place.
Wasn't a little tight, was it?
No.
And every word of the meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sandwich was a good word for that.
Yeah.
That's a big rascal. At the time, that was a big deer.
Oh,
I
yes.
mean, body-wise.
Yes,
it was
he
a huge rack.
He was a good one. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know to really bring this up or not, but sometimes your dad, he'd go and he could go and say something, and you got to prove him wrong or right or something, And there was this one morning this buck come in, and I think, I said, we had those little radios in our ears, I think.
Yeah, them little walkie-talkies.
Yeah, little walkie-talkies,
Yeah.
And I said, Scott, I got a spike over here that's 10 inches long. Should I?
Yeah, go ahead. I know where you're going. Go right ahead.
He said, you don't have any idea what 10 inches is. Oh, yeah.
Now that doesn't sound like him.
And I pulled up and I shot the thing. Killed him graveyard dead, And I said, Scott, you shot him, didn't you?
Yeah. The next thing I hear is, pow! This poor bastard gave up his life so Richard could prove he knew what.
Yeah.
Oh, God. I said, what have I done?
Darn if he didn't. It was over 10 inches.
Made me right.
That's right.
Ta-da, ta-da.
I want my duck permit.
Yeah.
I just blew a buck permit just to
That's
prove me
right.
wrong.
Yes.
They all make sacrifices.
Oh, shoot far.
That was a classic.
I don't go and know how many years it took me to live that down.
Have you yet?
Well, Ben, I brought it back up.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
When a man questions your integrity, what are you going to do?
You go. But you see right there, I mean, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It was, even though I burned it, it was funny. You
Yeah.
know?
Oh, yeah.
My God, how long was that been? I mean, that's been,
shoot, far.
that was in the early 90s.
Yeah.
No,
80s, wasn't it?
No, that'd been in the mid to late 90s, probably.
Was it?
Yeah, at any rate, it's been 25 years plus,
longer, yeah,
and we're
longer
still
than that.
talking about it today. So.
Yeah. I mean, I never forgot it.
Oh, yeah.
I never questioned him again. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. He said, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, there's guys that have killed 160-inch deer that don't have that much fun telling the story about it, you know?
I
I
guarantee
mean,
you they didn't have that much fun.
it was, that was the
you
idea.
don't know what 10 inches is? Quack! Damn!
Oh, what have I done? And I knew when I shot, I just done what he wanted me to do. You know, when you feel that you've been had.
Yeah.
Oh, now.
Oh, my.
Oh, well, yeah. Oh,
That's fun.
yeah, we laughed about it. I think, what
35
can you
years
do?
later, we're still laughing about
Yeah,
it, you know?
yeah. What did you, I mean,
That's worth
You
a
had to shoot it.
$25 deer permit every day.
yeah, it's better than crying.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, shoot, far. Yeah.
So this is now 90s at least, right? Probably.
That's getting close
Close
to it.
to it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting close to it. Yeah.
So somewhere around in there, we had a definite boom, like with the hunting and the industry and everything,
yeah, it
right?
started. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it
probably
started.
mid 90s.
Yeah.
And I guess a lot of that probably population starting to increase then, and just the VHS tapes and things like that.
Well, I think, you know, with the archery permits coming out over the counter,
Yeah.
you know, that probably contributed to it, you know, somewhat, you know. And then, the population, you know, was coming up, and a combination of different things, you know. But it went pretty quick, I thought, from you could go hunt anywhere and hardly not run into anybody, to all of a sudden everybody was this. I'm hunting here, and you know, and I've been hunting here, you know, 10 years, or you know, this and that, you know,
Right.
and it really, I mean, it went, it got whereabouts. If you didn't really go and know the people, or anything like that, you know, you didn't get to hunt or whatever, you know, and it's progressively just got worse.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of it's contributed to, you know, habitat loss,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Well, I'm sure you can remember that just in your lifetime, of the difference of things,
I can go
the way
down,
they are now versus
Yeah.
like you're talking when you first started hunting in the 60s.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's you can go down the road there, and I keep bringing up Aaron Clark. He's probably 40
Probably.
in there, and around that age there, you know. And I'd say there used to be a patch of timber right there, you know. It's all over, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a big change, and you keep thinking, how long can it keep going?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and well, it's if it keeps doing like it has in the last 15 years. No, there's it'll be whereabouts. I think it'll all be club. You have to belong to a club or something.
You'll have to have a lease
Have a
or
lease,
a club
yeah.
lease
Yeah.
or something.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's becoming really popular. And like you're saying, there's not as much good ground anymore. And then if you do have it, you got to pay for it, seems like.
Yeah.
And even, we talked about this a bunch, but like if you're looking to buy ground anymore,
Oh,
even recreational property that you can't do anything with except hunt is like $3,500 an acre would be real cheap,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It's you know,
Does it ever make you sick thinking about what ground used to sell for?
it makes me sick to think of the opportunities I had,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
And so, no, I don't know.
Do you remember when that 40 was for sale across from the Coon Club where we used
Yes,
to shoot?
yes.
$300 an acre for 40 acres.
Yeah.
And we thought it was silly.
Yep.
And that's no joke.
That's-
When we were shooting we were
Yes.
shooting those 3Ds you were talking about,
Yep.
$300 an acre is what that was sold for.
Yep. It was.
Yeah. And now you're talking probably 4,000
How
for that.
silly!
Oh,
how silly were we, right?
Why? I mean, I don't know how many different places out there. There's little patches and stuff. In fact, one of them was clear cut,
Yeah.
and I had the opportunity to buy it. And I said, "There ain't anything there."
Right.
Well, I don't want to buy something that for me. I mean, I ain't gonna farm or anything.
Right.
And so little did I realize I'd lived long enough and
Yeah, you could have made some
deer
serious
hunted
money.
it and squirrel hunted, and everything like that,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there, yeah, I mean, I had opportunities, but those people that maybe your age,
Mm-hmm.
you don't got the opportunities that
Right.
people my age had,
Mm-hmm.
that a lot of them took advantage of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
they sure did, but
Right.
but I mean, basically mine wasn't that I didn't want it; it was just affording it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was cheap compared to now.
Well, to now, $300 an acre seems cheap. Back then, it seemed awful
it wasn't-
high for
it was-
something you couldn't do anything with.
That's right.
I mean,
you know,
And they say ground only basically sells once in your lifetime. So you take a piece of property or 40 acres or whatever,
Yeah.
it will sell once in your lifetime, and that's about it.
that's about it. Yeah, every generation,
Yes.
Right.
perhaps might, but anymore, a lot of this ground, is. You say big farmers, but it's almost like a corporation,
Oh, yeah.
And I think you're starting to see some of those, where got outfitters, something,
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I look at that, if that helps save habitat and stuff like that, then maybe that's a good thing.
Right.
Yeah. I think if there is an upside for us guys that don't do that, don't have that, it's that the guys that lease the ground, the guys that buy the property, the outfitters, they're not hunting 120-inch deer.
No.
They're hunting the 200-inch deer.
Yep.
And that's that's going to segue into where we're at now. But 2 years ago, we had 3 over 200-inch deer in our shop.
Mm-hmm.
I probably could count on one hand in the last 20 years I had 200-inch deer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that is the upside to what we're talking about,
Right.
is that those guys aren't paying that kind of money to hunt 120-inch deer.
Yeah.
Right.
And so the deer are growing, they're letting those go, and now we're benefiting occasionally
Exactly.
for that.
Exactly.
I think so.
That's exactly. I mean, yeah, there's a lot to what you just said. I mean, if you kill 200-inch deer on your property, and you've got the ground, to lease and this and that,
Mm-hmm.
First thing in most people's mind, well, they got to be another one there.
Right. Yeah.
I'll pay the money to go hunt it.
Mm-hmm.
You're
right.
And whatever. I mean, and so, yeah, I mean, well, a lot of us have now killed enough deer that we're seeing that if you go and let the 1.5 to 2.5-year-old deer walk,
Mm-hmm.
You start seeing your results.
Yep.
And if you can convince somebody to not shoot those,
Mm-hmm.
and they themselves then turn around and see, last year I let him walk, but look at him this year.
Right. Yep.
Well, maybe one more year, it would be a nice one,
Mm-hmm.
And so it gets easier to do is to if you're hunting in an area whereabouts everybody is on that line with you,
Yep.
it's easier to do.
Yeah.
To pass them up.
Yeah, and that's one thing too that I was going to ask, and I think maybe if there's one benefit that TV has had, it's that guys do see, well, they're killing this caliber deer because they're talking about them being 4.5, 5.5 years old. And even I can remember when it kind of first started, and guys were talking about 3.5 being like like kill them at 3.5. That's
Yeah.
a mature buck, you know.
Yeah.
Like that, I get that that kind of stuff really started early 2000s, late 90s, kind of when guys finally started talking about letting deer grow and
Yeah.
get bigger and all that.
Yeah. It was. You're starting to see it even. I think even like you said, your shows, your bigger deer, whatever. Now, sometimes I get me. I mean, I'm not really like Dusty, you know, hunting those big trophy deer, you know. But I am at the same time. We've got whereabouts, you know, those 1.5, 2.5-year-old deer that, boy, you know, he's small body and this and that, but look at his rack already.
Yeah.
You
Right.
get looking at them, you
Those
say,
10-inch spikes.
yeah, he's going to be something one of these days. If somebody don't shoot him,
Right.
You'll have that.
you know. So I mean, you know, when you see by going and letting something go, and then the next year you actually get to see him, you know.
Yeah.
You know, it makes you go and think, well, what if he lasts another year?
Yep.
You know.
I think cameras help that as well too.
Oh yes. Yes.
Because you sit there and you're not going to see every deer that walks through there, but your camera is.
Yeah.
And so you don't know what you've let walk necessarily.
That's right.
As opposed to what you can pick up your phone and say, well, you know, here it is. Here he is the last 2 or 3 years.
There's people that's just how they hunt.
Mm-hmm.
You
Sure.
know? And I don't really see anything wrong with it. I mean, you know, you're hunting one particular deer, so that means you're letting a lot of these younger ones go by.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Instead of well, I'm tired. I'm going to shoot this one. You know, whatever.
Right.
You know, and I'm not necessarily that way. I mean, if I not seeing the buck I want to go and shoot, then I'll pick on the does.
Right.
I have no problem shooting them. I
Yep.
go out there, you know, and number one, fill the deep freeze, you know, or having fun may be in front of that.
Let's go with number 2 on the deep freeze.
Yeah, that's right. That number 2 in the deep freeze. I mean, because if I'm having fun, then I'm going to go more, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, it's, not everybody is geared for the same thing, and that's a good thing.
Yep. It is.
You know, but
I tell you what, the first 3 days, certainly the first day, I won't say 3 days, the first day of this gun season here in Illinois, the buck to doe ratio is like 70-30. So there are places that does are just lousy, you know, and so there's nothing wrong with shooting does in certain places.
that's right.
And if we don't take care of the population, Mother Nature will. She always does.
Always does. You know,
She always does. So,
and I'll tell you what, there's places that if you are lucky to go and hunt on somebody that's willing to let you hunt, they're going to say, shoot some of them does.
Yep.
You know,
Especially
or
the
they're going
farmers.
to find somebody that will.
they will. That's right. That's right. You know,
When they got 15 out there eating their corn or eating their beans or
Yeah.
whatever it is, they don't care about racks.
that's right. That's right.
And I don't blame them.
I don't.
You know,
I-
that's their livelihood.
I mean, like I said, I go in there the mine, you know, with a doe or whatever, and I would go and admit I didn't kill one last year, and I haven't killed one this year. And the reason I haven't on this year is the first day I went, I had a group of them come in, and I sat there and I was looking at them, and I said, you know, I don't think I got things ready at home for this. It was nice and warm and whatever, you know.
Right.
They'll be tomorrow.
That's right.
And so, and after that, I said, where'd they all go?
Yep.
Yeah. So, you know.
That's how it tends to go for me. Seems like when early season, if I'm ready to shoot one, I can't get one in bow range.
Yeah.
Then when I shift to, I'm gonna let them walk. I'm gonna wait for a buck to come by. I got does all over, and then it gets to late season. I'm like, okay, I'll shoot a doe again. They're all out there at
Yeah.
75 yards again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
That's the way it goes for me. You can still, like you said though, there's places where you ain't got no trouble finding them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's plenty of them around.
Oh,
Remember when we was in the Molnex timber and I shot that doe, and it had to have been about 90. No, it had to have been about 2002, because my daughter was in kindergarten, but Canyon was not. And we went home, and we'd already found her, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we were just, for some reason, the lunchbox wasn't big enough to hold her that day. So we went and got the truck or something, and we went home to get Canyon,
Mm-hmm.
and he was going to help us track her up. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we put him on the blood trail, and I'm telling you what, that kid was high stepping. Do you remember that? He was like 4 years old.
Yeah.
That's been 23 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
close to it.
That's I mean, you know, that's the fun part is taking them out.
I remember
and
that in the timber, and it was one of them. Okay, I'm going to hunt over here, so you go walk straight south, and you'll go across this ridge. And as soon as you get to the edge of this ridge, you're going to turn left, and there's a good climbing tree right over here. That's the directions I got.
Yeah. Yep. You knew it was straight.
Yeah.
Killed the deer.
That's right.
Have no clue if I was in the tree even close to where I was supposed to be.
That's right. Killed a deer. That's like one time, you know, Dusty boy, he was disappointed, you know. He went, "Where you going?" You know, and I told him, "We're gonna go over here," you know. And Molnex is on the south side there, you know. He said, "I don't want to go over there." I said, "Well, just go over there on the other side there." And he said, "Just walk around." I said, "You'll shoot something."
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what I'm going to do. I got back to the truck there, or the car. It may have been the truck, the Datsun.
Yeah.
And
Which wasn't much bigger than the Omni.
yeah, and the motor wasn't as big. but anyway, Dusty, he's sitting on the tailgate, and I said, "What'd you do? Get bored?" He said, "No, I killed a deer." You know, I mean, that's just some people or I won't say really a natural, but I mean, they home in quick on what
Yep.
they want to do and go about it, you know. And and for him, it was hunting on the ground.
Yeah.
And he still does today. He hunts a lot, half the time on the ground,
Yeah.
you know.
He's been successful at it, too.
And hey, yes, he's killed some nice deer on the ground. He's had them come up there and smell of his feet. You know?
Right.
They ain't gonna do me because the ground's shaking.
That's if they can duck the arrow on the way in, right?
Right. Shoot myself in the foot. Yeah.
Yeah. That's how cool has it been watching not only Dusty grow up and been able to have the success he's had too, but now his kids and the grandkids.
Well, I think part of it would have been explained like Thanksgiving, our last Thanksgiving. We were sitting there at the table. Of course, you know, I've killed a couple nice bucks this year, you know. And for Kelby, she's been killing some nice bucks since high school.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And anyway, Dawn come in. She had this pullover shirt, you know. And on the bottom of it, it had a, "Who's going to fill your shoes?"
Mm-hmm.
And it was all related to this deer hunt, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And Kelby stood up and says, "Look here, Grandpa." And she pointed down there. "I'm going to fill your shoes."
Yeah.
And I want to tell you something. In the last few years, if you're measuring up the inches of the horn that she's killed, she's blowed me away.
Yeah. Right.
You
No
know?
doubt.
And, you know, Dawson killed a nice one this year for,
Yeah, he did.
you know, for his first one. You know, he started late, but,
Yeah.
man, he's a good shot.
Oh, yeah.
He's a good shot.
That was a cool hunt, too. That was one of them.
Yeah.
Well, we had both of them on there, but that was... He was one of the first kills we had on video this year.
Yeah.
That was a cool hunt during youth season back in October. But, yeah, I could imagine and just thinking you started hunting in the 60s, you know, we're talking. And now you got grandkids that are going to be hunting probably, 2060s.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's a lot of...
We hope.
Right.
We
right.
hope. I mean, I hope people are still able to hunt at that time.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah.
I mean, we may all be just bow hunting.
No, right. Maybe.
You know, maybe.
If that's not too cruel.
That's right.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, you know, I tell you what I've seen that I definitely don't see anything wrong with whatsoever. When I started the hunt or whatever, you know, there wasn't any women involved in it, hardly. I don't know of any around here that was, you know.
Yeah.
And now, you know, these girls, boy, they're into that stuff, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And Kelby there, I got tickled. Dusty was telling me, she was telling him a few years ago when she's still in high school there, she made the comment that Dad said, "There's a lot of boys down there at school thinks they know how to hunt, but there's only 2.
Yeah. She knew.
Got them sized up, don't she?
That's right.
She knew.
Well, when we were shooting 3D, there wasn't a lot of women back then.
No.
Shooting at all.
No, it started at the end there, in certain clubs.
Right.
That it was a picking up.
Yeah, they had that women's class, but
Yeah, that
I
helped.
remember the one time. I think it was Hunter. Lisa was pregnant. It's like, and she was going into labor.
Well, I remember that day. I said, we were whispering to each other this and that. And I said, what's going on, And finally he told me, like,
Hard Rock like to melt it down. Remember that?
not out here on the range.
Right.
She was shooting 3D. She said, I'm having contractions. And old Hard Rock, I thought he was going to poop little green pebbles or something. And she won like second place just because she shot.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But that was,
Yeah.
women just didn't shoot a lot back. We always had a women's class, but there wasn't a lot involved back then.
If they was 12 that shot in it, that was a pretty good turnout.
Oh, gosh,
really.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was. But it was starting to pick up,
Yeah.
And that's not. I mean, I really think there's a lot of good seeing, your wife or girlfriend, going with you, or, hunting together. I really, that helps. It gives you something in common.
Oh yeah. For sure.
That's like Rhonda started shooting with me until she hurt her arm, but the only thing about her, the incident I had was that she shot out there at the target one day and missed it.
Yeah.
So I went to fetch her arrow. And when I was out there looking for it, I hear this whoosh. I said, what in the world, And I turn around and look, and she's re-knocking. Hey, I said, what are you doing? Well, I'm shooting that target. I said, I'm back behind you.
You just missed one.
And she just said, well, I ain't going to miss. I said, what am I doing out here? I mean,
Oh yeah.
I swear. Don't miss again.
That's right.
That's not a good feeling, is it?
Yeah, I mean, you sure missed it the first time about a foot.
Yeah, right.
Maybe you ought to be to the left.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
She didn't miss
Yeah, that's
again.
She might have.
Yeah, exactly where she wanted to, I think.
Accidentally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you even talking about the old archery shop days and the 3D shooting days. It seems like back then, and now there are certain pockets of it, but there was a really tight-knit group for when it came to bow hunting. And there were a lot more pro shops around and stuff like that, so you could have, like you went in, all your local guys knew each other, and you could give each other crap and, go in there and after the hunt, come into the shop and,
That's where I was going with that. In the shop, after the morning hunt, you had certain guys that would come in that were able to hunt in the mornings. They would come in and share their experiences, share their stories, or I seen a deer, I didn't see a deer, yada, yada, yada. And then in the evening, after the evening hunt, you would have that same, we had what we called a loafing room, which basically was a couple tables and a TV where you could watch VHS and a soda machine and cracker machine or whatever. And guys would sit around that table and just share experiences, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which you don't have that anymore because you don't have the shops.
No.
And the guys who were having troubles or had troubles would come in and I'd fix their bow or we'd work on their bow and we'd reshoot and they would get ready to go in the next morning. And I think guys were better shots back then with, I don't want to say worse equipment, with maybe less technological equipment, where they were better shots because of those places, not just ours, but there was a lot of those places and they don't exist anymore. Yeah. You order something on the internet, you put it on your bow and you shoot it and, that's good enough. And away you go,
Yeah, you still have a somewhat of that, like, well, on a Facebook group, for example, now, like with the talking about what you've seen and all that. But the difference is if you came into the archery shop and started running your mouth enough, someone would probably shut it for you. The guys on Facebook, nobody's shutting it for them, so there's too many of them that they ruin it for everybody else.
Usually, I don't care where you go, you're going to run into somebody that just pretty well knows everything.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, it ain't long you go and everybody figures out,
Yeah.
whatever. But on the other hand, there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that if you really listen to them, you know, they had some good ideals or they've had good experiences, you know, and you know, it was just up to you to go and pick through what you thought, you know, you were comfortable with accepting, you know, I might try that, you know.
Right.
Or bad experiences.
Yeah.
Maybe not want to go there.
That's right. That's right.
Yep. So do you remember, we kind of started talking about guys, you know, starting to see people shoot bigger deer and want to shoot bigger deer. Do you remember your first deer where you were like, wow, that's a nice deer? Was there a moment like that for you?
Yeah. But to be flat honest, it wasn't no 200-inch deer.
Right, right.
You know, I'd say, you know, what I thought my first really nice deer was probably about 140 or in the 140s, you know.
Yeah.
And I thought, now, boy, that's a nice one, you know. And I've killed not a lot, but I've killed some, you know, up in the 160s, I think, you know. But I didn't really hunt them. I mean, I really, I was out there to shoot a buck if I got the opportunity, but I mean, I didn't pass up, you know, a lot of deer just to go and be able to shoot a 4.5 or a 5.5-year-old deer. You know?
Right.
I didn't. I know, but you know, it's because of having access now to whereabouts the deer are living a little longer. You know, I see, man. You know, like we talked a little earlier. You know, I need to some of them deer that's, you know, 2.5 or 3.5 that really shows promise. Let them walk.
Yep.
You know, and it makes a difference if you got confidence, you know, that by doing that, you know, down the road you're going to see a difference.
Yeah.
And I am seeing a difference.
Yep.
I am. I've seen the last 4 years, 5 years, something like that, that if you hang in there and don't get too, you know, ambitious to just be able to shoot a buck, you know, just wait it out and it'll happen, you know.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you know, I still, to me, a 140, 6-7-year-old deer is that's a shooter.
Absolutely.
You know, but I killed a nice deer last year that was in the 160s, I think, you know. And I think he was, I think Dusty said he thought he was a 4.5-year-old deer or something like that.
Right.
I thought he was a nice deer.
Yeah.
You know, I did.
Yep.
You know, but that's the difference between me and him. I thought it was a nice deer, but that wasn't what he was shooting for.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Hey, I was happy and he was happy.
Yep.
You know?
That's one of the cool things about hunting is everybody gets to do it the way they want to do it too, within the law, and then you know, for what they want to do it for. But you're talking about all that stuff kind of coming to I guess a peak this year with you shot the first buck you shot, which was a nice deer, no doubt, and that was early on in the season.
That was about 2 weeks earlier than the second deer.
Late October?
No, I got him. The rut was just starting.
Was it?
Well,
okay.
It'd probably been the first part of November.
Okay.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the rut was just starting, and that deer there, I think he was a 7-year-old deer, 6-year-old deer. I think 6, 7, and that was more what I was more proud of having shot. Yeah, you know, because I've got deer bigger than a 140 or whatever, you know. Even though he has mass and it's a nice deer, I killed what I call a mature deer. You know, a smart one. They don't live that long being dumb.
That's right.
And with that, I mean, having said that, the story sort of coincides with the story with my big buck, in that I was hunting with the same guy, you know, that I hunt with quite a bit, Aaron Clark, and we were probably 300-400 yards apart. And of course, you know, today, you know, you've got the phones you can text on or stuff like that. And that morning on this particular buck, I hadn't seen anything really. And I text Aaron and I said, look, probably about 9 o'clock, you know, I ain't seen anything. I'll probably just get down, you know. He said, I'm ready too, you know. I put my phone up and I was watching, you know, and I could after I did that, I seen a buck outer edge there. And I texted Aaron. I said, I'm going to stay a little longer. I said, there's a buck south of me. At least I think it is, you know. And probably a little after 9, I didn't know where he'd went. I didn't know, you know.
Right.
And I think actually it was probably, I think I looked at it, it was about almost quarter after. I'd stayed longer than I'd planned, you know. So I text Aaron. I said, I don't know where he's went. I'm getting down. He said, I am too. Well, I actually think he'd already got down. But
Yeah.
Anyway, I was putting my phone back into my pocket, and I looked to my left, and here this buck went across the shooting lane there, you know, went up there. And I in a panic, you know,
Right.
I was trying to get my grunt tube out of my shirt pocket there, and it's down in my coat, this and that, you know, and he's going the other way. I finally get it out, made a couple grunts or something, and I could just barely see the rear end. And I could tell, boy, he spun around, and I said, he's a-coming. And he come right up through there, and I got him stopped about a little under 20 yards and shot him looking right at me, you know. And anyway, he probably went 75 yards, something like that, and piled up, you know. And I thought, if nothing happens the rest of the year, I've had a good year.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'm satisfied with this deer here. He's an older deer, you know, but he's still, I think he's scoring the 140s. You know? But I mean, at that time, I thought, I've got a good year.
Yeah. Everything else is a bonus after that.
That's right. That's right. And I think, you know, it's probably maybe not quite 2 weeks for sure, you know. But it was a morning, you know, that, I mean, the bucks were flat moving. I mean, they were small bucks, you know, whatever. I did have a 10-point come into me that morning, and I filmed it, you know, and I sent it to Aaron there and said, why didn't you shoot that one? I said, he's not as big as that 140 I killed. I said, he's a young deer. He'd make a nice one, you know. Oh, okay. And it wasn't very long then after that, you know. There's a railroad separating the properties where I was on the south side, you know, and back north, I seen a big-bodied deer. I couldn't tell exactly what he was, but he was a big-bodied deer, you know. And I texted Aaron there, you know. I said, there's a big-bodied deer across the tracks there, but I can't tell exactly what he is. I mean, you know, how big a rack he'd have or anything like that, you know. And then I lost him. And I don't know, 15, 20 minutes it went by, something like that. And anyway, I text Aaron, you know, and give him a message, you know, and here again, phone in my hand. I went like that to my left, I put it in my pocket, and here this dude was coming. You know, well, just step back just a few minutes, I heard a train blowing its whistle, you know, and he's coming this way, you know. And it was shortly thereafter that then, you know. I mean, he was getting close to the crossing there, you know, south of, and like I said, I put my phone in my pocket there and I looked, and here he's a-coming. And I knew he was out past his ears, you know, this and that. He was a nice buck, but I couldn't tell you if he had 8 points or 12 or what. I didn't look, you know.
Right.
I just knew that's a shooter.
He's a shooter.
He's a big one, you know. And I normally, you know, I shoot a crossbow. I could go and just flip that safety on and off like that. This time I looked, and I done it like that. There's no going to be pulling on the trigger, and it's not going to go off, you know.
Right.
And then I got on him, and he come up there, I don't know, about 15 yards, and that train was blowing its whistle down there at the other crossing, you know. And I knew where he was headed. He was headed out to the weed field. And I stopped him. I grunted, and man, he stopped. He didn't know where it come from,
Mm-hmm.
And I was on him, but all I had to do was just adjust a little bit. I pulled the trigger, and bam! I knew I had a good hit. He spun and he head for to the railroad tracks.
Mm-hmm.
And as he started to go up the tracks there, I could tell in his hind legs he was losing,
Like they do.
Yeah. And so I said, he's going to go down, not very far. He just got up there on the tracks, stopped, and turned and was watching that train come. Yeah. And at first I was just looking at him like that, okay, And then he started wobbling.
Yeah.
The train's blowing its whistle down there, And I'm going, oh, my God. I said, no, get off the tracks. Get off there.
Right.
And at the last bit, before he went down, he just went to the side and over he went.
Yeah.
Have horns in 3 counties.
Oh, my God, I've had people ask me, well, what would you have done if the train ran over him? I said, just unsnapped my safety harness and did a swan dive.
Yeah, right. What else you going to do?
That's right.
You can't shoot the engineer. It's not his fault.
Right, that's right. And the thing is, I knew I'd shot a nice deer, but I had no idea what I had shot.
Right.
I had no idea. Even when we found the thing, which there wasn't much to finding it. I mean, he went up the tracks and then
Yeah.
to the side,
Yeah.
But when I walked up on it, and I mean, Gib was, and Aaron was in front of me. Of course, I'm just walking back behind her,
Mm-hmm.
And they turned around and said, "How you shot a doe?" Oh, no, I didn't. No, I didn't. And when I seen them horns there, my first words was, boy, this one's going to cost me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be honest, $630-some.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Uh-huh.
That there's got to go on a wall. I mean, you just got to. I mean, there's
Yeah.
nobody else in the family's got. Dusty's close.
Mm-hmm.
He's close to the 200, but nobody's.
So the matriarch's got the matriarch. That's what you're
well,
telling me.
for once I can scoot over the boys, and sit back here in the crowd.
Yeah, you got your place at the table now.
That's right. So I mean, it's nice. I mean, to do something that you never dreamed you'd do.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as hunting,
Yep.
Not in Wayne County. Did you ever think when we were hunting you'd run across a 200-inch deer?
No, I never even. I mean, you read about
Like
them
you
in
say,
magazines.
140s,
Yeah.
10-inch spikes, or
Yeah,
whatever the
that's
case.
right, that's right.
200 was
Or slick heads.
right? Yeah.
But no, and I shot that in the morning, around 9, something like that, and both of my deer were shot a little after 9.
Yeah.
I had 2 years ago, I had a magazine or something, and it had in there whereabouts in record books there, the hours for most of them was shot is from between 9 and 1.
Yeah. Like that middle of the day period during the rut. Yeah.
And last year, my biggest deer I killed, I waited till, I went in at 10.
Mm-hmm.
And 30 minutes later, I shot him, And I seen him, I grunted him in,
Mm-hmm.
So, I when it gets that rut there, and boy, they're really a moving, especially on a dreary, rainy day.
Yeah.
Boy, get in there, after 9, 10 and stay as long as you can then,
Yeah.
Stay as long as you can because.
Are you still using the same grunt call, or do you changed up, or?
Primos.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that for years.
Yeah.
Had it for years. I sort of like to have the ones that got the snort wheeze, but hey, when they're ready to come,
Yeah.
that one I've got will work.
Yep.
Right.
They will work. I've called them across the tracks, whatever, This particular deer that I killed, 200, after me and Aaron got talking about it, he said, before that train got there, he said, I rattled. You know, he said, I had rattled some. And I said, well, I said, that's a chance that you rattled him across. But I said, when he heard that train blowing, you know, he knew whereabouts the pasture was, and he was headed for it.
Yeah.
He wasn't going to stay along them tracks, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm inside away from it probably 60, 70 yards, you know, something like that. I ain't up against it. You know,
Yeah, just down the hill into the logging road to the left.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, you know,
So you're crossbowing now,
yeah.
and you and I were your compound at the time.
Mm-hmm.
What the transition between compound and crossbow, was there a time where you couldn't hunt or you didn't hunt or you just transitioned from one to the other?
Well,
Because I think you're a great example of what crossbows can do for a guy that genuinely lives to hunt. I really do.
how I come about to crossbow hunt was that I had this horse that didn't like me. And
I got a wife.
it
like
was,
that.
well, this horse, you know, he knew when I was off guard and would flip me in the air like a Frisbee.
Yeah.
And you remember I come up here, dislocated shoulder.
Yes, I do.
Yes, that hurt.
Uh-huh.
I went high enough that on the way down I said, this is going to hurt. And I was right,
Yep.
you know. So anyway, at that time, without a doctor's slip, you had to be 62.
Mm-hmm.
I had to wait 2 years. And right after I 62, that's when they opened it up to everybody. And I said,
When they
wait a minute,
changed
that ain't fair.
yeah. I want my 2 years back.
So 2 years, see, I didn't get to hunt.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have gun hunted, but I just,
So I kind of remember that, and that's the reason I asked for the podcast more than anything. Is I think that, you know, you've been hunting since the 60s, and,
Oh, yeah.
and you bow hunted with everybody that you partnered up with. And
yeah.
I thought there was a couple of years you weren't able to,
Was-
based on a silly law that didn't allow you to hunt without, you know, jumping through hoops and everything else. And I think crossbow, I have no issues with crossbow hunters. I really don't. And you're a prime example of that, I believe.
well, it allowed me to go ahead and continue doing what I like to do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, you know, if there's no way that I could go. I still have my competition bow that I got from the archery up here. You know, I still got that. And every now and then I'll get this wild idea and I get off the wall and I'm like,
Is that
Yeah.
blue,
Put
is
it
it
back
blue
up
and
there.
white or red and white or?
it was Turkish green or something like
Okay.
that. Or
Okay.
what,
Yeah. I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's pretty bow. And I killed
is.
deer with it.
Yeah.
I not only 3D shot with it, but I deer hunted with it.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, it was a competition bow.
Yeah.
And I killed some deer.
Right.
You know? But if it wasn't, I tried to go to a doctor and same doctor that when I got my when they done work on my shoulder there, you know, he said, I'll just be honest with you. He said, I done that before, you know, seen people, you know, that couldn't, you know. But he said, what stopped me doing it was, he said, I did it for an individual. He said, next thing I know, here come the people, you know, he applied for benefits, you know, disability. Yeah. And he said there wasn't really anything wrong with the guy for the job he was doing he could do.
Yep.
But being I had signed that paper,
Mm-hmm.
here they were.
That's an interesting point too, because that's something you don't hear guys talk about. Is that aspect of it? Guys taking advantage of loopholes.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. You know, and I understood what he said then. You know, you know, you just it's a sad thing, you know. But the doctor no longer wanted to. I mean, you know, get up there and said, well, you know, yes, he can, but you went and signed these, you know. I mean, it put him in the spot.
Sure, and I
he
understand that
didn't.
from his aspect.
Yeah.
However, guys, in your case and Jeff's case,
Yeah.
you know, Jeff Fry, the guy that I hunt with today and we've hunted with, the same kind of deal. He can work every day.
Yeah.
But drawing a 60-pound plus bow back is not his
There's
thing
a difference
anymore.
in that.
Yes, there is.
There is a difference.
And so, you know, he hunts with the crossbow and it allows him to continue to do what he enjoys to do.
That's the thing.
And
That's the thing.
Yeah.
I tell you, if you can get out there and do something that you like to do and you're active, I think you might live longer.
Yeah.
do you still climb?
Yes.
You do.
Well, no, not as a climber.
Okay.
You know, I still got the same climber I had.
Gosh, I wish I could remember the name of that climber. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, you don't climb with a climber, but
No.
you still get in a elevated stand.
I've got I'm the ladder stands.
Oh, right.
You know,
right.
I got the ladder stands, and every one of them has the slip rope. I mean, the safety rope
line,
goes
yeah.
up with the slip.
Those
knot.
are things we didn't think about much in those days.
No.
Now you fall out, well,
No.
the hell, it's going to hurt. Well, you know.
I mean, why are you going to live forever? You know,
Right.
You know,
Yep.
and you know, no, I had one TV tower that was 18 feet up there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, man, you get up there and you're just on a platform.
That you built.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
I built. I
Right.
should have told you stay away from it.
Yeah, right.
You know, and no side rails on it or anything like that. You know, and there was a danger there. You know.
Oh yeah.
But the biggest danger was just putting them up or taking them down.
Yeah.
I mean, there was one time there was no 18-footer, but I beat the stand down.
Jeff and I have a story about that as well.
So I mean, you know, but I have all of them, and I encourage everybody to get that safety harness and
Yeah.
and those safety ropes. You got that slip knot, you know, and you can go up and down. And,
No, the lineman's
Yeah.
not. And so,
Yeah.
yeah. I still climb, actually.
Yeah.
But I do it now with a lineman's rope and a safety and
Yes,
stuff,
mhm.
which we didn't do back then.
No.
But that was kind of silly on our part. But
Well, hopefully, if you
for
get
the most
older,
part, they
you-
didn't have them then,
No,
actually.
No. Well, when we first started, safety rope was just a belt around you. And then they found out, you know, that's not a good idea.
You hang upside down.
Hang upside down,
Yeah.
you know. So, I mean,
Takes
you know,
longer to die.
that's right, you know. And, you know, but, I mean, you know, they've come a long ways on safety, this and that. And it's there's a lot of people that every year you hear, you know, that fall out, one reason or another, you know. And I've heard people make comment, well, if I fall out, it's my time. That's bull.
Mm-hmm.
You're not thinking right, you know.
No.
I mean, it's one thing if it kills you. Another thing is if you're laying there another 30 or 40 years on your back, can't do anything, somebody's taking care of you.
Yeah.
You know, no.
Yep.
No, it's just,
I think the next generation beyond us, the newer generation, I guess you might say, probably safety is way more in the forefront than it was when you and I were
yes,
hunting.
yeah.
That's just something they've grown up with, something that your generation, you and I have installed in our kids. Hey, this is what you should do. Don't pay attention to what we did. Don't
Yeah,
listen to
that's
our
right.
stories. This
Yeah.
is the right way to go about
Yeah.
it.
well, I really think when I first started, in some places I climbed a tree and sat on a limb.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you're breaking the ground, I mean, you learn by mistakes sometimes, and or somebody else's mistakes, you know.
Uh-huh.
Leo Green.
Yeah, I mean, Leo, he fell out more than once.
Yeah.
You know?
2 or 3 times it
Yeah.
didn't kill him.
Yeah. Just stoved him up a
Yeah,
while.
well, he's kind of an anomaly anyway.
No, but I tell you what, though, I mean, if you can get a sport and you can enjoy and you like to go and hunt with somebody, you know, it really passes the time and you know, I'm 71, but you know, if I'm 70 or 80, you know, and I'm still able to do it, that just gives me the hope and the stuff that, you know, maybe there's another year behind that or whatever, you know.
Yep.
And I exercise just, I mean, if it's a cloudy, rainy day or something, I've got in the house there, you know, I do. I believe in getting out and doing stuff to keep yourself going.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
You still rabbit hunt much?
Oh, I don't actually hunt, but I run my dogs.
You still have dogs?
I've got 8 beagles, and today I had 3.8 mile on what I walked.
Right.
You know, just following the dogs
them
around.
around,
You know. Yeah, and I'll do that till fishing season. You know, and we got a good day go. Gibbs retired now, and he runs his dog with me about every chance we can get.
Yeah, I
you
ain't
know,
seen old Gibby for a while. How's he doing?
Gibby, he's pretty
Still
well
is-
around home.
Yeah,
Man.
still excited as ever. Still excited as ever.
Yeah, 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 really. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, you know, yeah,
He still hunts, I guess. Does
he bow
does
hunts.
he climb?
He's bow hunting. He shoots a raven too. You
Does,
know.
he shoots a crossbow then?
Yeah, raven.
Okay.
He shoots a
He's-
raven.
Does he climb yet or no?
No, he's got a ladder stance. He's like me.
Okay.
He goes up there and he's like me. He's got the safety ropes. You know.
Right, right.
And everything. I believe in. Well, I tell you what. I don't seem to do as much as I used to. But I used to, boy, I'd be out there and that sun start hitting me and I'd do this here and that, you know.
Yep.
And you catch yourself or something like that. Well, usually I don't really have that problem anymore so much. Because usually I'm shaking.
Right.
You know?
Hell, I figured he was already asleep.
I mean, I get cold pretty easy. You know,
they make those coats from Milwaukee that have those batteries.
I've got one.
Yeah, and she'll shake. It beats the old.
Like I
pocket
said,
heaters with-
I get like that. I push that little button up there, you know.
beats the
So
pocket
yeah,
heaters that you put in your pockets and in
Yeah.
your shoes and
yeah.
under your.
Frozen feet, you know.
Oh yeah.
But no, there's a lot of changes, you know. That's from when I started to where we're at now. There's a lot, really, you know.
I think the success rate has gotten higher, not because people practice more like you and I did back in the day,
Yeah.
but because of the technology of the equipment they're using.
Well, it has to be.
The crossbows. I mean, how often do you shoot your crossbow and you know it's sighted in? One or two shots, maybe. I don't know. You tell me.
When I sold Dusty mine that I had, the first Raven I had. He was wanting one, and I was wanting to upgrade. So I thought, here's a chance, you know.
Sure.
So I gave Dusty a pretty good deal on it, and boy, he sacked it up, you know. And so
That's what dads do, right?
Yeah. So this bow here, I shot it probably 20, 30 times, really setting it in, getting used to it. And that was in early spring. And then when deer season come out there, I went and shot it about 3 times. You know, well, I shot it at 20 yards, 30 yards, out to 50.
Right.
And so, you know, it was right where I wanted it. And I said, good.
Good
But
enough.
the difference is, you know, that crossbow of mine, it fits me just like my rifle does. And I squirrel hunt in August. I mean, August and September every day. So I'm used to, you know, the trigger pull's about the same, the scope, it fits just. So that all can. If I wasn't doing that, I probably would have shot my bow a whole lot more.
Right.
But when
but
looking,
you're old school.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's not a bad thing, but these guys nowadays, you know, they don't have archery shops to go to. They don't come up and loaf and shoot 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 arrows or shoot a techno hunt for 30 minutes or whatever, you know. I think the success rate is based on technology of the equipment they're
I
shooting
can agree with that.
more than their ability to shoot.
yeah. I mean, and you know, technology usually is a good thing.
It is. I got no problems with it. That's just the way it is.
It is. You know.
The equipment that we shot back in the late 80s, if you didn't shoot that stuff, you know,
Yeah, this looks
several
like
hundred times before deer season, yeah, you weren't in, right?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you know.
If you shot 200 feet a second back then, you were a speed demon, man.
Oh my gosh. What was our crossbows when they first shot?
I remember
Well, not crossbows, but
Indian
compound.
had a compound bow that broke the 200 feet a second range. It was like 210 or maybe 220, and man, that was a screamer. Do you remember those?
Yeah,
Indian.
I got an Indian. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. You bought one here or maybe off Gordon, but that was like a speed demon back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was 2
2 years
210.
later, it was obsolete.
Yeah, yeah. That's how fast technology was moving
Yeah.
at the time.
Yeah.
But you still had to shoot them.
Yeah.
You know.
Still had to shoot them, this and that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know Dusty, if his arm didn't bother him is like that, he'd love to shoot a compound instead of like that.
Yeah.
I still shoot a compound. I will just because I want to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If I can, when it comes to the time I can't, if I want to go hunting, I'll shoot a crossbow.
Yeah.
I got no issues with crossbows at all. I got no, like I said, you're a perfect example of that. You love to hunt. You've always loved to hunt.
Yeah.
And crossbow keeps you hunting.
It keeps me hunting.
No
That's right.
problems there.
That's right.
I just like the compound until I'm not able to.
Oh, they're a whole lot lighter. They're a whole lot lighter
Yeah.
and everything. Them compounds got some weight to them, But number one, it lets me hunt.
That's
It
right.
does, absolutely.
And two, I mean, I had a deer 3 years ago I shot, and it moved out I did with the crossbow. First deer in a long time that I had shot, and I lost.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they eventually found him, and he was a really nice deer. But with the crossbows that I've had, they've been pretty. They haven't been the cheaper, on up there from middle on up,
Mm-hmm.
and they shot good, whatever. I really think when I first started the crossbow that I had to shoot it more than what I do now.
Yeah.
I mean, these bows they got out now, that if you shoot a rifle, you can shoot one
right.
of them.
Yeah. Right. It's
You can shoot
very
that.
similar
The
shooting.
the trigger, anything that you shoot's got a trigger, pistol, whatever. The easier the trigger pulls back,
Mm-hmm.
the better group you're going to shoot.
Yeah.
And they're getting the crossbows that way.
Mm-hmm.
Before, 6, 7 pound,
Right.
2 fingers on it,
Yeah.
whatever, That's hard to shoot a good group, with that. But anymore, they're getting them down there. And I say Raven, that's my experience. I know there's others out there the same quality as they are, But, it's kept me in the game. And I like that. I mean, I do. Like I said, I'm shooting a Raven, and I know there's a couple other. In fact, Raven has been bought out by 10 Point. And 10 Point.
10 Point made some good crossbows.
They make some good crossbows, and they embedded them because they took certain things off the Raven and put it on some of their new stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So
They come out with that dial where you pull it back.
Yeah,
and stop.
I do.
10 Point
That.
did.
That's nice. For you,
Yeah.
something like that.
Mhm.
But and then when you don't have to shoot your bolt,
Right.
cock it.
Right.
You
Yeah.
just push the little button,
Yep. Let her down.
coming down, let her down. It's they're, and the thing is here, you keep asking yourself, and we did this with compounds. When is the technology going to meet
Right.
a spot that they no longer, can go and,
Yeah,
and
right.
do it? And you ask yourself, well, compounds are still doing it.
Yeah.
They're still making gains out there.
Yep.
They may not be the big jumps like they were for a while, but they're still doing it.
They're
Yeah.
still doing it. Yeah.
And your crossbows now they've broke 500.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that something?
That's I tell you.
We were
what,
screaming at 200 back in '89.
Yeah, I it's something else, and my bow will do it, and Dusty's will too, and anything that shoots basically over 400 feet, that arrow goes through. I have actually walked out there, and seen where I hit it, picked that arrow up. There ain't no blood on it.
Yeah. Just rips right through them.
Yeah, it went just so fast, and you think, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
Well, after that happened a few times, I didn't really get too excited, Just walk over here a little bit.
There's
and see
blood.
that. Oh, look at that blood. That's good.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, when something's going through that fast,
Yeah.
man. And the thing is, if you're off to the side of it, you can't see it.
Oh no.
You can't, I hunt with those lighted nocks.
That helps you when you're videoing or
Oh, yeah.
got something
Just trying
like
to
that.
see
You
where you're
gotta
hitting the deer.
Track that arrow to see, even like you said,
I
like
know.
to hit the deer.
There was one night that, not one night, a get in
Well,
trouble.
be careful
there.
now.
Yeah, I know it. Yeah, it was about to get dark.
Yeah, but there you go.
But anyway, me and Aaron
30
was in a
minutes before
blind
shooting
there,
light.
and we had the decoy out, And the first deer come in, I waved him off, I said, no, don't shoot it, don't shoot it. Just that last minute, probably that you could shoot it,
Mm-hmm.
A nicer buck came in, and I told Aaron, I knew he was on it. I said, shoot him. Poof.
Yeah.
And all I could say was, well, you hit something.
Yeah, right.
And I could, I keep telling him, use them lighted knocks.
Yeah.
You
those things are awesome for, like you said, not just like what we're doing with video, but just like back in the day, you had to, if you're wanting to see your arrow at all, you're dipping it in white paint or something, all white fletchings. But now it's like,
just
you can tell right where that thing's going.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're nice.
And you got, I shot one, and I knew the arrow about where it went, and I looked. And it was in the evening, and I thought, wait, I've got to go ahead and get the deer, And by that time it got dark, and I went back in the area whereabouts I'd shot the thing at. And before I got to it, it was under the grass, but there was a big old orange glow. Walked right to it.
Yeah, you can find your arrows easy with them. A lot easier with them too.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, you got anything we ain't covered yet that you wanted to?
Oh, I probably not that I want to say.
Okay.
We could shut everything down. We might. But I'll tell you what, though, it's nice to hit up with some guys that you hunt with, like me and Larry. Once in a while, we'll get together or whatever. But there's guys out there that I've hunted with no longer here,
Yep.
And so.
I appreciate you coming in.
I've enjoyed it. I really have.
And we talked about it plenty. Like,
Yep.
if there's anybody deserving of a 200-inch deer, you're the man.
Well, I don't know where I deserve it or not, but I'll tell you what, it's been a blast. To do something like that, and then to get recognized, by your peers.
Yeah.
Everybody said, nobody's come up there, like, well, you didn't deserve it or whatever, boy, you killed a good way to go,
Yep.
That's nice.
That's what it's about.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, well, we'll let you get out of here. But again, thanks for coming in.
We'll have to get you back on and tell some more stories.
Yeah.
One of these days we'll do it.
Yeah. As long as we don't get into politics.
Yeah, we won't. That'll be a different podcast.